Hello, FedPhoenix fam. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. Things have been really busy, really crazy. But in a few months, maybe more, maybe less, I should be getting my next major abdominal repair surgery. And at that point, I'll definitely have a lot more downtime to be home and make content and, get back with people much quicker. I know that I've been a little slow getting back with people that have reached out to me, and I apologize for that. I understand that if you are a loved one is, incarcerated in federal prison or may soon be, definitely it's a high stress situation. And, if it's taken me a week to get back to your email, I understand how that's a week for me, but it feels like an eternity for you, or it feels much longer for you because of the pressure you're under. And I just want to, as a person who is both sincere and empathetic, about this journey, I just want to extend my apologies publicly to those who have had a delayed response from me. It's not intentional. It's not that I don't care. Y'all know that I do a lot for my mother, as I should. And she just had one procedure, and she has another major procedure coming up in a couple weeks. So, between raising my youngest child and being there for my family, and just keeping bills paid, I just have not had the time that I would like to have, to invest in my brand, in FedPhoenix. So, just to get that out of the way, I apologize for that. So today we are going to do a video on how to monitor and improve your credit score while you are incarcerated. Now, of course, this is federal prison, but I think pretty much all the information I'm going to give you could do pretty much in any state prison as well. If your loved one is not a person, with the proactivity or the literacy level to kind of handle it themselves, and you want to handle it for them, I think a simple POA, power of attorney, should suffice to allow you to do so. And either way, I'm definitely going to give a couple tips for, if you're in the free world and you have a loved one who's incarcerated and you'd like to help them improve their credit, how you can do so as well. So, my Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo will be in the description. If you'd like to donate to the channel, support what I'm doing, you find this helpful. If you would rather not, or you simply can't, I perfectly understand, and no hard feelings. If you've not subscribed already, please do. I'm trying to get up to at least 1,000 subscribers, and I think we're at the 430 something mark, so, which is really exciting. We're like 43% of the way there, but definitely, it would be great. It would be a benefit to me, if the channel could just, quite frankly, become monetized, because as much as I love being helpful and I love doing what I can and sharing information and being supportive, I'm a regular person who is not in a high economic bracket, and I could certainly use some benefit as well. I mean, just putting it out there. So with that in mind, let's hop right into it. So I took notes to make sure I'd be thorough, right? So the first thing that you as an inmate can do, and again, I believe if you're a loved one and you have like power of attorney, maybe if it's your spouse, some of these things you can do on their behalf. But for each of those things, you'll have to find out, particularly maybe specific, state specific, what the laws are on different things. So, but the first thing you can do is monitor your credit scores. Now, you can get a form. You'll email like your case manager, caseworker. At the prison I was at, the form was, I think, the reentry management person had the forms. You may have to kind of get a hold of a few different people to find out who has them or how to acquire them. But there's a form you can fill out. And once a year, you can request a written copy, printed out, paper copy of your credit report. This will have your score. This will have any debts, that kind of thing, your credit age, from the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and I can't think of the other one, but there are three of them. And you can, once a year, ask to be sent a copy of this information. And you can go through it and that kind of thing. Definitely go through it and look for discrepancies. If you're in the free world, or if you're in the free world now, or if you have a loved one, if you're the loved one in the free world of an inmate, definitely research a little bit on disputing, negative marks on your credit. There's a whole process to that. It's fairly simple and straightforward. And there are definitely a lot of circumstances where some financial advisors would say you should or you should not. Keep in mind that once you dispute something, that debt is pretty much, it's almost like waking a sleeping whatever. Because, a lot of debts after so many years will fall off your credit score, your credit report. But let's say it's something that falls off in 7 years. If 6.5 years in, you go, well, I'm going to dispute this because I think I can get it taken off. And you don't get it taken off because you disputed it, because you interacted with the debt collection. My understanding is that 7-year clock starts all over. So sometimes it's better just let sleeping dogs lie. But that's something you have to decide based on the individual circumstances. A lot of incarcerated people have issues with people in the free world, people they trust, obviously, using their information and creating, putting the electric in their name at their house, or getting credit cards because someone finds out they have decent credit and running them up. Now, you do not have to prosecute. Understand that. You don't have to be a snitch. You don't have to make a police report, none of that, to get that stuff taken off. Really, you just need to you need to file a simple dispute, right, which you can do via paper, and just get something from the prison showing that during the time that this light bill was on or this credit card was acquired and spent or whatever, you were incarcerated. So there's no doubt that it certainly was not you. And that should definitely help resolve it. And I'm going to be honest with you, the credit card companies, the utility companies who boot all their outstanding debts to collection agencies, these people are not going to waste their time trying to track down who it was and prosecute them and get the money back. And so if you have a situation, I've seen a lot of people, particularly in women's prison, who have situations where, a niece or a grandson or whoever put the electric bill in their name, ran it up, it's bad on their credit. And they want to dispute it because it wasn't them. It wasn't done with their permission. It obviously wasn't them, but it wasn't even done with their permission. But they're afraid that this person is going to be prosecuted and go to jail for like identity theft. And so they just absorb the debt. They just take that hit. You don't have to take that hit. And again, it is incredibly unlikely that there would ever be any legal consequence for the other party. And I think if there was, as the victim, you would be able to stop prosecution by simply saying, I don't want to prosecute. But yeah, it's fine. But definitely get your credit report. Look for discrepancies. I have a fairly common / unusual name. My name is Audrey Thompson. And my last name is relatively common, although the spelling is not, probably the #1 version of it. And my first name is semi-uncommon, but there are a lot of Audrey Thompsons in the world. So it's not unlikely, due to a change of a small error, maybe an innocent error in Social Security number, date of birth, that I find myself with a debt on my credit report that is not actually mine. That was another person with the same name and similar information. So you want to keep an eye on that. You want to be proactive. Okay, the next thing that you can do as the inmate, you can ask your loved ones or people you trust to do. And if this is a good one for the people in the free world that have a loved one on the inside, is be the authorized user thing. Because your credit report is based on 3 factors, right? Your debt to income ratio, your credit availability, which you have access to, how much you use of that kind of thing, and your credit age. Are you a person that's been using the credit system per se, very, very vigorously throughout your life? Or you're a person that, I'm in my mid-40s and I've never had a credit card. I am in my mid-40s and I have probably less than $2,000 collectively in debt, maybe less than that, because I don't use lines of credit and I pay my bills. And, it's very uncommon in our culture for people not to use credit from a very early age. So as a result of this, part of the reason my credit score is so low is because my credit age is pretty much non-existent. So anyway, so with the authorized user thing, how this works is, let's say you have a loved one who's incarcerated, or let's say as the incarcerated person, you have a spouse or an adult child or someone who you can kind of assume has decent to good credit, maybe better, I don't know, that they trust you, you trust them. There's a mutual trust existing here. And so what you would do if you're the person who's working on their credit, you're the inmate, is you would ask your wife or your dad or whoever, can you please make me an authorized user? Now, for this information, to do this, they're going to need your full name, your date of birth, and your social security number, which is why you, the person who's asking this favor, needs to be able to trust them. But can you make me an authorized user on one of your credit cards or some of your accounts, whatever, to help with my credit score? Now, my advice is you should mention to them, and you should mean this, I don't need to know what account, I don't need to know what cards, and I don't want a copy. Just simply make me an authorized user. With me not having the information, the card number, not having my own card, blah, 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 I can't exploit this. I can't, even accidentally, add to your debt. But what this does is it increases my credit availability that the credit monitoring people look at, and this will help build my credit. So you're asking someone to take pretty much no chance, and it costs them nothing, to help you, create more financial stability for yourself when you come home. Because your credit's going to matter at that point. With getting, some jobs look at your credit. A lot of apartment buildings look at your credit. If you need to get a car loan or any kind of loan, they're going to look at your credit. This is something that as a functioning adult in society is going to matter. So, and this is a way that people can assist you with that without taking any risk of their own. So the next thing is, I mentioned the disputes. If you see something on your credit report that should obviously not be there, and you think it's reasonable that it would be removed if you dispute it. But you need to use a little bit of discretion with that, in my opinion. And I'm by far no CPA, no financial advisor. I'm just a regular person talking about what has worked for me and other people, and a very base knowledge level. But that's something, again, goes back to the first thing, and it's something you have to kind of think about yourself. For a lot of people, filing bankruptcy, just starting from scratch, is a really good move to do if they have bad credit, especially during the time that they're incarcerated, right? Because let's say you're going to be in prison for 5 years. If you go in and within that first year you realize, okay, my credit is bad, and the best way for me to come out of here with better credit is kind of a destroy and build kind of situation, right? I'm just going to file bankruptcy, start over. And then by the time you get out of prison, right, let's say you're doing 5 years and a year and you do this, so 4 years, it would have been 4 years ago that you filed bankruptcy when you get out of prison. If you have people that are going to let you be an authorized user on some of their accounts, you filed bankruptcy 4 years ago, but then now you have access to this credit, indirectly, but you've access to this type of credit. You're not using that access. It'll help build things, But that's something where, too, you should definitely look into. Most prisons have a library. You can have your loved ones send you books on building credit, or even just a book on different types of bankruptcy, how to file bankruptcy for dummies, because there are various types of bankruptcy, and you really have to kind of figure out what is not only a good fit right now, but in the long term. So, if you are incarcerated and there's an active child support order that's accumulating debt against you, this is where you would write the family court judge who ordered it and say, I'm incarcerated. I don't have the ability to make payments. Can we please suspend, rather than this accruing more and more amounts? It's just unrealistic. And it just, I'm not able to do it. It's going to make me not be in compliance with the child support order. And furthermore, it's going to make it more difficult when I come home to financially provide for my child, because I would already be up to my eyeballs in debt in that arena versus, kind of being able to do what I can when it's realistic. So, tax debts, I'm not, again, a licensed financial anything. I would definitely look into that. There may be some way to get some of that forgiven or minimized. I don't know. Alimony is another thing. If you are ordered to pay alimony and you are incarcerated, unless you are extremely wealthy in the free world, again, write the judge who ordered that. And there's a very good chance that can either be suspended or deferred. And when I say suspended, if it's kind of like an indefinite until the other party marries, when I say deferred, let's say you were ordered to do 5 years of alimony, right? Or until the other person marries. That's usually a clause in there. But you're going to be in prison for 3 years. Rather than having this build up to this monumental debt that you come home to, you can say, can I have it deferred during my incarceration? So if it was 5 years of alimony you owed, and 3 of those years you were in prison, from the time you were ordered to pay the alimony to the time you're done is going to be an 8-year window, because basically you had it frozen, during your incarceration. And this can be a very good thing for you, because this can, this can prevent you accumulating more excessive debt while you're incarcerated. And also, a lot of times if there's a clause, and there's almost always a clause that with alimony, unless the other party gets married, right? And then they're no longer entitled to this financial support from you. A lot of times the financial support isn't being given because it's been deferred while you're incarcerated. They're a lot more motivated, if they had been considering marrying someone else, to go ahead and get it done. Which means when you come home, not only do you not owe any built up amounts from when you're incarcerated, but it's no longer an issue because they've remarried. Just saying. Now you got to remember that most debts go off your credit within 3 to 6, 7 years. There are some things that I refer to as infinite debts. And here's the thing, like, I still owe student loans from when I went to college. And that's kind of an infinite debt, right? It's one of those debts that it's just not going to ever, like, realistically go away. If I won the lotto tomorrow and I was a multimillionaire, I'm sure at some point the Department of Education would get a hold of me and say, hey, you owe us money, time to pay up, right? If I was publicly a very wealthy person, I'm sure, any random, debt from any point in life, people would be coming out of the woodwork. Hell, people would be making up debts, But when I look at my credit reports, my student loans aren't on there, right? But I know student loans never go away. They just don't unless you pay them. There are some programs I've heard that help get them, taken, minimized or whatever. I think because I went to college at a point in history where the student loan rate was like super high, the interest rate, I think there are some ways that I could get them minimized. But here's the thing. They don't show up on my credit reports because that was over 20 years ago. If I were to stir the pot and contact, the Department of Education and say, well, the interest rates when I was a student are no longer legal. You need to amend this. You need to adjust this. I think because I've woke the sleeping bear, because I've had an interaction with this debt source, there's a very good chance they would do what they're supposed to do, but then it would show up on my credit report, making my credit worse. So for me, knowing that they're not going to come after this money, either A, I can eventually pay it off over time, right? Or they're never really going to come after this money unless I'm really in a financial position where it makes no sense for me not to pay it, because it wouldn't be a hardship. In which case I'm happy to do so. But another thing too is I don't make regular payments on my student loans. I don't. One, I can't afford it. And two, again, it's the whole sleeping bear thing. If I know that if I have no interaction with this collection agency that currently, is in charge of them, and then, it's been so many years ago that it just doesn't even show up on my credit report anymore, I understand that there's a very reasonable chance that if I start interacting with them in any negative or positive way, that it will show up on my credit reports again and negatively impact my credit. So unless I'm in a position to make regular payments, I'm not bothering with it. And if the day ever comes that I'm financially comfortable enough to just pay it off, which honestly, my student loan debt, I would say, is less than $3,000, not a whole lot of money. And outside of that, my whole debt, my whole collective debt, under the sun, is certainly less than $2,000, far less. I don't use credit, And when it comes to my bills, like, there's no like negligent like utility bills on my credit report. I handle my business. I definitely have my priorities in order financially, and I'm fairly organized in that department. So anyway, these were just some general kind of ideas and thoughts. A lot of people, make plans for when they, especially, my people that are on pre-sentence release or have recently got a target letter, gotten indicted, and they know they're going to prison. They don't know for how long or when, A lot of times at that point, to kind of occupy yourself and look for some silver lining, a lot of people start planning, what are some things I'd like to do while I'm incarcerated? Would I like to do a correspondence course and get some kind of degree? Would I like to get in better health? Would I like to become more knowledgeable on something? Would I like to become, bilingual or multilingual? Because you'll certainly be exposed to people who speak other languages as well, that are native speakers. I mean, in the free world, that's an expensive position to be in, to want to learn a language, and there it's free. You know what I mean? Or if someone isn't particularly fond of you, they may say, I'll meet with you a couple hours, a few days a week, but every week you got to buy me a bag of coffee and a creamer, for this service. Certainly much cheaper than in the free world having a tutor who's a native speaker of a language. But I think for a lot of people going in, one of their thoughts is, I'm gonna find a way to fix my credit, to at least improve my credit while I'm incarcerated. One of the things that a lot of people want to achieve when they leave prison is putting themselves in a better position as far as their credit goes, so that they're more financially stable and comfortable. And these are just some general ideas to help you do so. So with that, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you have not already subscribed and you're willing to do so, it costs you nothing, does me a world of favors. I would greatly appreciate it. To the 430 something people who've already chosen to subscribe, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you more than you know. Yeah, and there'll be a link to the merch line in the description if you'd like to, get some FedPhoenix gear and support, the humanizing of federal defendants, the humanizing of federal inmates, that these are people. These aren't just throwaway societal trash. Or if you'd like to support my efforts in educating the public on the realities of the federal justice system and federal prison system. Or maybe you just find me super charismatic and funny and want to get a t-shirt that's FedPhoenix. So if you ever see me in public, I know you're part of the FedPhoenix fam, so I can give you a big old hug. I'm a little bit of a hugger when I like people. So whatever your motivation, I would appreciate it regardless. So with that, I hope everyone's doing well. Whatever you're going through right now, it is a slice of your life, and you will get through it because you have to. And my email will be in the description as well if any of you need to reach out to me for any reason pertaining to you or loved ones, and potential incarceration, post-incarceration, whatever. I'm here. And I hope you found this helpful. And good day. God bless.